Selection 4, The View from Saturday, by E.L. Konigsberg.
Classmates Nadia, Ethan, and Noah share something in common. Nadia's grandpa, Izzy, married Ethan's grandmother, Margaret. Noah was the best man at their wedding. Nadia and her father are staying in Florida after her parents' divorce, and she feels uncomfortable around Margaret.
Margaret was in charge of 15 permitted volunteers. That meant that if she could not do the turtle patrol, one of them could. Permitted volunteers were licensed to move a nest or dig out a nest after the eggs had hatched, but they had to be supervised by her. All 15 of Margaret's permitteds, plus friends and other interested parties, showed up for the digging out. As soon as other beach walkers saw the hovering over the nest, they joined in. The audience was enthusiastic. They oohed and ahed, and at least once every 3 minutes, one way or another, someone said that nature was wonderful. 4 people said, "Fascinating." Ethan did not ooh or ah, and he did not say fascinating. He watched as patiently as a cameraman from National Geographic. My father hovered with the rest of them and said, "Fascinating," twice. Hovering had become his great recreational pastime. Turtle patrols keep very close watch on all the nests on their stretches of beach, and they know when they are ripe for hatching, and sometimes they are lucky enough to be there when the turtle nests are emerging. That is what a hatching is called, when the turtles push their way out of the sand and start waddling toward the water's edge. They look like a bunch of wind-up toys escaped from a toy store. Watching a nest hatch is more interesting than digging one out after they've hatched, which is really only a matter of keeping inventory and making certain that everything that was or is living is cleared out. During old times, I had oohed and ahed at the digging out, but that evening it seemed as exciting as watching a red light change. Like a proud parent, Margaret watched as Grandpa Izzy dug out the nest. Wearing a rubber glove on his hand, he reached down into the nest as far as his armpit. He removed 96 empty eggshells, 4 unhatched whole eggs, 1 dead hatchling, 3 turtles that were half in, half out of the shell but were dead. Those are called dead-pipped. 1 turtle that was half in, half out of the shell but was alive. Those are called live-pipped. 2 live ones. Margaret took notes, counted again, and said at last that it all added up. Grandpa released the 2 live turtles onto the sand. Everyone lined up on either side of them as they made their way to the water's edge. Turtles almost always hatch at night, and after they do, they head toward the light. Normally, the light they head for is the horizon on the ocean. However, if a hotel or high-rise along the ocean leaves its lights on, the turtles will head toward the brighter light of civilization and never make it to the ocean. They do not find food and they die. Turtles are not trainable animals. Their brains are in the range of mini to micro. When the 2 hatchlings reached the water, everyone along the parade route applauded, and my father said, "Fascinating," for the 3rd time. Back at the nest, Margaret examined the live-pipped. She announced, "I've decided to keep it." Judge, jury, and defending attorney. Dad asked what would happen to it, and Margaret explained, "It'll take a few days to straighten itself out. We'll give it a safe, cool, dark place in the utility room and release it after sunset when it's ready." Dad could have asked me. I did get an A on my report on Florida turtles. When baby turtles come out of their shells, which are round, about the same size as a golf ball, they are squinched up into a round shape that fits inside the eggs. After they break through the shell, they spend 3 days down in the sand hole straightening themselves out. Sometimes they die before they make it out of the shell. Those are the dead-pipped. They are counted and discarded with the unhatched and the empties. A permitted person has to decide if the live-pipped are more alive than dead. If the decision is that they stand a good chance of surviving, they need care. They are lifted from the nest and taken home and given shelter until they straighten themselves out, and then they are released onto the sand. We never carry them to the water, Margaret explained. They must walk across their native sand. We think that something registers in their brains that kicks in 25 years later because they return to the beach where they were born to lay their eggs. As Margaret was explaining this, I thought about my mother's returning to New York. Her birthday is September 12th, and I wondered if her need to return to autumn in New York had anything to do with some switch that had been turned on when she emerged. Back at the condo, Grandpa carried the bucket containing the live-pipped into the utility room, and we all sat down to have milk and cookies. Bubby would have made homemade rugelach. Margaret did not even know what rugelach were until Grandpa Izzy took her to a kosher delicatessen and introduced her to them. She already knew about bagels because bagels have become popular even in places that never heard of them. Margaret liked rugelach, but I could tell she had no intention of learning how to make them. Grandpa Izzy, who had enjoyed rugelach and babka as much as anyone, had adjusted to store-bought cakes and cookies. I asked Ethan if he knew rugelach. He did not. Before the evening was over, Grandpa Izzy suggested that Dad bring me back early enough so that I could take the morning turtle walk with him and Margaret and Ethan. Then Margaret said, "Alan, why don't you come too? The exercise will be good for your foot." Dad had broken his foot on the day of their wedding, and it had not yet healed. Margaret believed that a bad mental attitude had slowed it down. Much to my surprise, Dad agreed. "What about Ginger?" I asked. "No problem," Grandpa Izzy said. "Just keep her on a leash, like old times." I started to say that Ginger has grown to hate the leash, but once again a look on Dad's face told me something, and I said nothing. So it was from a look of Dad's and a sentence left unspoken that the sequel to the turtle habit got started. Dad and I would leave his apartment early, meet Margaret, Grandpa, and Ethan on the beach, and do our walk. Then Dad would return to Grandpa's and change into his business suit and leave for work. If time permitted, Dad would join us for breakfast. If not, the four of us would eat without him. We usually watched the rest of the Today Show before going for a swim. Grandpa and Ethan got into an unofficial contest about how many laps they could do. I did not participate. I took a short swim, got out of the water, sat on the sidelines, and read while Grandpa was teaching Ethan how to dive. He wanted to teach me too, but I preferred not to. One afternoon we went to the movies. It was blazing hot and bright outside. We went into the movies where it was cool and dark, and then we came back out into the bright, hot sun. I felt as if I had sliced my afternoon into thirds, like a ribbon sandwich. Ethan, who never said much, had a lot to say about the camera angles and background music and described the star's performance as subtle. Never before in all my life had I heard a boy use the word subtle. Dad had tickets for the Phantom of the Opera. This was the real Broadway show, except that it was the road company. Not knowing that Ethan would be visiting, he had bought only 4. As soon as he found out that Ethan would be in town, he started calling the ticket office to buy one more, but there were none to be had. He kindly volunteered to give up his ticket, but Grandpa Izzy and Margaret would not hear of it. Margaret said that she would stay home, and Grandpa Izzy said that he didn't want to go if she didn't. I expected Ethan to do the polite thing and say that he would stay home, but he did not. Of course, Ethan usually said nothing. Even when it was appropriate to say something, Ethan could be counted on to say nothing. But on the subject of who should give up a ticket, Ethan was particularly silent, which was a subtle hint that he really wanted to go. At the very last minute, the problem was solved. One of Dad's clients mentioned that he had an extra ticket, and Dad bought it from him on the spot. We met at the theater. Ethan had insisted upon taking the odd seat, saying that he would be fine. The odd seat was 3 rows in front of ours and closer to the center of the stage, but I do not think Ethan knew it at the time. I think he wanted to be alone, or, I should say, without us. At intermission, Ethan bought one of the $10 souvenir programs, and after the show, he thanked my father at least 5 times for getting him a ticket. Dad was pleased with the way the evening had turned out. We went to a restaurant for ice cream sundaes after the show. Ethan could hardly keep himself from thumbing through his $10 program. His head must have stayed back at the theater long after we left, for